Very special episode. I have the Mr. Joey Batista. They always say those who can't do teach, which for probably 90% of people, that's accurate. But then you do get the folks that really have hit high level stuff, and there's a specific reason they're trying to now give back. So for you, what is that?
I naturally enjoy making people better. It just makes me feel so good, and it's how I'm wired, right? So it's my God-given talent that I know that I can go out and create massive change in people's lives.
You're in the business of growing people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're a leader of the business,
100%.
you have to learn the skill sets of how to build and develop people.
Like, I can look at somebody and I can tell them something about themselves that they don't know. I can look at someone and tell them a business deal or an association that they're gonna have with me that they don't even know yet, all comes from being the second choice. The best fight of your life is not gonna be to fight to get more. The best fight of your life is gonna be to fight to keep what you got.
Ooh,
right? You know
that's a zinger right there.
You know?
All right, everybody, welcome into the Abundance to Give podcast today. A very special episode. I have the Mr. Joey Batista. I mean, you're definitely one of, if not the biggest, one of the biggest guests I've had in this studio.
Nice.
I mean, I've done virtual podcasts, but the fact that what you're doing with Andy Elliott, Ty Lopez, and all, I mean, the list keeps growing, and what you're trying to do in the coaching space. And what I wanted to kind of do with you today, I want to understand how such a successful business person like you, once even 2 seconds into the coaching space at this point in your life, because that is, you know, they always say those who can't do teach, which for probably 90% of people, that's accurate. But then you do get the folks that really have hit high level stuff, and there's a specific reason they're trying to now give back. So for you, what is that and why?
You know, that's a good question. And there's layers to the question of getting in the, you know, the giving back in the coaching space. I think the highest level thing for me is I naturally, and I always say I naturally enjoy making people better, right? Like, it's not something that, and I could say like, hey, you know, do I want to give back? And am I a really good person? And yes, I'm those things. But I think the biggest thing for me is it just makes me feel so good, and it's how I'm wired, right? So from the time I was really young, when I was before 16, so 13, 14, 15, I said to myself, there was three things that I wanted to do with my life, and a series of events probably arrived me to them. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a businessman because I knew I wanted to make money. Like, that was it. I knew that was that simple. Like, business people make money. My dad was an entrepreneur. So that was really important to me. Like, that I wanted to be a businessman. So my childhood goal, I accomplished it. And then I wanted to be able to and this is going back before there was social media, before there was even the internet. I wanted to be, you know, this was Tony Robbins, right? Like, he was the only person there. And I wanted to be a motivational speaker, right? And because of
Why though?
You know,
like, there's something usually down inside people that is a
it's a good,
known or unknown driver, right?
You know, I'll tell you, this is a good thing. Let me tell you what it is. What I really think it is I was never good at sports. You know, I struggled with being overweight my entire life, right? Like, people like, hey, you know, especially being around Andy, you don't have a six pack. Well, I was 100 pounds heavier. So I guess it's all proportionate to where you're going, right?
You're not allowed in the Lions Den if you don't have a six pack.
People believe that, but it's not true. Andy just wants to see you do better. But
of course.
But the thing is,
you're setting a standard.
He's setting a standard, and he wants to help people, make a difference, change lives. And the difference is, I think for me, I have the ability to do it. So it's my God-given talent that I know that I can go out and create massive change in people's lives. And it's something that I never spent the time harnessing or focusing on making better, right? Like, I've spent my time, I became a great entrepreneur, and I was horrible. I was good at sales, and I was horrible at entrepreneurship. And then I learned how to be a businessman, right? But now it's like, that's to answer your question, because I go on about it. But the thing is I know that I have done it, and it's also a calling for me. It's a calling at a higher level. So now it all kind of comes around, and I don't like to go in and lead with God, because I don't want people to, good or bad, to take that one direction or another. But I think for me, it's like, now I have an opportunity to go in and do it. And I believe a noble, worthy mission has a dollar sign attached to it. Sure. Right. So I'm going to make the money anyways.
Yep.
with whatever I do, I'm going to make money.
So you feel, hey, I'm at a point in my life where I've had the business entrepreneur success and still having it. Like, I want to share this just because this fulfills me.
Yeah, it's 100% fulfillment and knowing I have the ability and I can't live a life that I never did it, right? Like I have to do it because it's something that I can do better than most people, right?
And is it your way of giving back?
100% it's a way of giving back. 100% it's a way of giving back. And another thing from the entrepreneur in me, right? And you know this, like, let's not be confused here. Like, if I have a big brand and you don't, and I'm a smart entrepreneur and you're a smart entrepreneur, I can beat you every day, all day long, because the most valuable thing in the world right now is having a brand, right? There's nothing more valuable than having a brand from a financial aspect. Like the brand.
What do you call it? Buying the likeness?
Yeah, buying the likeness, right? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Buying the famousness.
Well, and it's also, you know, like, you know, being an entrepreneur, you know, to say that you don't get bullied or, I mean, you're a multifamily guy, right? You've been beat out by bigger guys than you many times over the years, right? You had to get punched in the face 30, 40, 50 times. Now you know how to chase those deals down, right? Well, the thing is for me is building the brand. It's a great neutralizer because when my brand is built, and it will be built because I'm doing the work and I'm following the templates and I'm hiring the best coaches in the world, then it'll be that much harder to compete with me. So I get to give back, I get to serve, and I get to be a better entrepreneur as well. So I'm not, so here's the big miss. Let me say this last thing on this. This is the big thing. It's not those, you're right, those that can't do teach. Yes, I've heard that, but I don't like the sayings like that. You have to understand something. I'm going for it all, right? Like I'm not a one-trick pony. So the thing is anybody can go in and do one trick 37 times and they're done. I also want to show how dynamic I am because I'm very dynamic under pressure for long periods of time.
My gut tells me, and I haven't even been in your sphere in the business world per se, but you're an executor. Meaning like you come in and you're like, okay, boom, 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 let's go.
Yeah. And that's another thing that feeds the coaching space is, you know, it's so crazy. Like literally right now we're changing lives. Like when I help somebody, here's the biggest thing. When you hire somebody as an employee, okay, and they come in, there's a big learning curve for them. Yes, you develop them. Yes, they grow, but the level that they accelerate is slower because their level of commitment is less. When you get an entrepreneur that's been struggling for a long period of time and or they're aging and or they want to make their family proud and or they know that you have the answers to the problems that they have. I've never seen, keep in mind, I'm relatively new to the space and working with entrepreneurs. The amount of growth that I've seen these guys have in the amount of period of time, I've never seen nothing like it in my life.
And is that because obviously there's a deeper why and motivation and pain? It's really driven by pain.
It's pain and money. They paid.
Yeah.
Right? They're committed. It's pain, commitment.
Yeah.
Right?
And then they paid for you to basically help them. And then, so now they're all in, right? All cards in.
Yeah. And I'm hammering them like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling them like, you know, I'm hammered. Like my style is, you know how I am. I'm super respectful.
Yep.
I'm a gentleman. Right. But I'm a hammer. Right. Like make no mistake about it.
I've watched some of your videos in the car sales floors. I mean, I'm like, you're an Andy Elliott of car sales floor. I mean,
well, this is PG compared to what I used to do, right?
So when did you sell your first car?
My first car.
Do you remember your first car sale?
I do.
It's kind of like when I sold my first house.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I'll tell you, this is the amazing thing about it. I'll make it short. I just came out of training. They had a vet salesman. It was my first TO that I took. And I went in, they had a vet salesman and he's hammering this guy for like 8 hours. He can't close him down. Right. And he had bought a car, totaled it. And he came back and there was a price increase because there's price increases on new cars. And he wanted the rims. So he didn't want to pay it for it. So I went through training. They were like building value. And I'll never forget this. I'm like, let me go take a shot at him. I mean, this is my first day out of training. And I sat with them. I'm shadowing him all day. I tell the manager, let me take a shot at him. You guys are going to let him leave anyways. Let me take a shot. You know, and which was unheard of. Nobody says that, right? And he had, I went in there and I said, listen, you see the gas pumps over there? I said, you see the gas pumps across the street? I said, I've been watching you guys go back a whole real long time about these rims, price increase, everything. I don't know. I just started. But I know this. I know those gas. I said, what do you think? What are they worth to you? I said, they're
gas
not.
pump?
No, I asked him, I said, what do you think the gas pumps across the street, the gas station over there, what do you think they're worth to you? The guy said, they're not worth nothing to me. I said, they're worth nothing to me. I said, how much do you think they're worth to that guy that owns a gas station? I said, see, it's the same things with these rims on this car here. See, to me, they're of no value. I wouldn't pay for the rims at all. If I was you, I was sitting here wasting 6-8 hours of my time. I'd say, take the rims off, give me the car for the price I want to pay, let me leave. But to you, those rims are important. I said, so the bottom line is if you want them, you're going to have to pay for them. I said, let's quit wasting time. You've been here all day. Let's just get it wrapped up. I said, I'll even make sure they clean the car up for you. I'll handle all the other little stuff for you to spend the rest of your time. You get out of here faster. Boom. It was done just like that. It was just, and that's where I learned with sales, one, change of face, right? Change of face. Sometimes somebody's saying the different thing. But what I was trying to convey, even though I didn't know at the time, I was trying to build value in the rims.
Sure.
Right. But that was my first.
Yeah. And help people see value differently.
Help people see value differently, which I was a total rookie. I knew nothing about nothing, but that was it.
That is wild. Let's talk about your family. It's called 3 brothers.
I have 3 brothers. Yeah.
You lost one.
I lost a brother. Yeah.
Are you okay talking about that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I feel it. But I honor my brother's death by,
Was he older or younger?
He was my older brother.
So he was the oldest in the family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happened? And what have you learned from it?
My brother drank himself to death, and it was over a long period of time. His life, he was a genius by IQ. My brother could learn to read and write a new language in 2 months.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he was a genius. Like, he literally was like just Rain Man, ridiculous. He would just go out and learn to read and write. He spoke languages, like just crazy language, like small village languages. He would know the dialects and everything. But he was, I don't want to say eccentric, but he was just, he was one of those people that most people don't operate on that frequency. So was
he like a Rain Man?
Nah, not like that. It was different, but he had, he was that, he just was a little bit different. You know what I mean? It was my brother. So it was like, it was hard for him to function socially. Like, so he had I believe.
So there's an awkwardness socially.
There was I just functioning. I think for him, he learned how to survive and be comfortable as an alcoholic. He knew how to build safety to make himself safe from himself.
Okay.
Right. I think at the end of the day, he had to provide safety to himself. And I think that's what happened. He ended up, he drank himself to death. And that's when I quit drinking even a couple years before he died. I quit drinking 5 years ago. He died about 3 years ago, I think. And he just had a birthday a few days ago.
So he's an April baby.
Yeah, April 1st, April 2nd,
Wow.
April Fool's Day, April 1st, April 2nd.
Yeah, April.
I keep forgetting April 1st or April 2nd is his birthday. I should remember, but April Fool's Day, that's his birthday. So they had, but anyways, yeah, I think the big thing was that. And I also learned that his life had meaning to it. And that I feel like he was one of the people that, his life was hard his entire life. And the lessons of his life were, they were meant for our family in the aspect of, for me to create, it wasn't real, there's been half my family, there was drinking involved, there was a lot of other things. And I think that the lessons of his life were meant to create generational change. And I think that even though his life, because sometimes I looked at how hard his life was, and you question God, you question these things, and you're like, why would his life be so hard? And his life was for nothing, and there was nothing good about his life. Before he died, he said to me, he said, because we got him on the liver list, getting a liver. He went to detox. He was sober. He said, Joey, I don't want to do none of that. He said, I'm not doing none of that. He said, you got a wife, you got kids, you got a family, you got businesses. I'm never going to have that. And it's really selfish of you to want me to live.
Wow.
Just for the sake, so you don't have to hurt. Right. So it was really, and he he was being loving and compassionate because it made it easier for me.
Wow.
Right. The process made it
almost
easier.
giving you a,
He loved me.
yeah. It's like saying, hey, like, it's okay, man. Like you don't,
Yeah.
you don't need to keep me here just to keep me.
I mean, he at that point, I mean, I accepted that he was going to drink himself to death, and I didn't spend any time with him because it was too painful.
Yeah, I bet.
You know what I mean? Like, but
I bet.
You know, I saw him he died the next morning. I saw him, and I went and saw him. It was his birthday. He died.
Wow.
He died the day after his birthday, the morning after his birthday. I saw him on his birthday, and this was during COVID. And you know, I went in there and I gave him a card, and I had $1,000 in it. And I gave him a card, and I said, "Here, Gary, you know, it's something, you know, whatever." And he was like, I was like, you know, maybe I should give you a hug, man. This might be the last time. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. You know, COVID, I don't want you to get your daughter sick or nothing like that in case I'm sick or something. I don't want you to get your daughter sick. And boom, that was it. He was dead the next day, you know. So, but either which way, you know, that's why I'm not, that's why
Are you the transitional character in your family? Like Ed Milet may say, you know, the power of one more, and
yes.
And the transitional character that was the one that everybody had done maybe well or done okay prior to that, but you're like the one that leaped it.
Yeah, I am. I mean, my brothers are amazing human beings, beautiful men, superhumans, like just really, you know, I think their lives are less bruised, less challenged than mine was. And I was kind of like the one that went first, right?
Yeah.
Like I went first.
Because Bobby's your pure blood, and then half brother, right?
Brad.
Yeah. Yep.
But same. Mom,
I mean, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't make the distinction.
No. So no, and he's a hammer. I mean, Bobby's a beautiful man, like great husband, great father. You know, I taught them a lot of things in business and how to make money and how to live life and a lot of things. And they've supported me and led the way. But I was thinking about this.
I love how you guys stick together, though. That is one of the beautiful things about your family is you guys roll tide, man. You roll and die together, support each other, it seems, and everything that I see. The wives are involved and the family and the kids. And that's a unique, rare thing that I appreciate. I acknowledge. And they say that your surroundings are everything. We all know that.
Well, that
and the first time I met you was at WealthCon, right?
Yeah, WealthCon. Well, we were at that private dinner with Ryan and Andy, and there was his CEO was there and a couple other guys.
And then from there, we met down at PBD's down in South Florida and did the whole CEO ticket thing down there.
Yeah,
which was wild. Yeah,
well, you were the one that told me. Remember, we had the conversation at dinner, and you were like, "Hey, bring your son."
Yeah,
and that's what I did.
I mean, it's I go to 4 conferences a year. I've been very selective. Prior to a few years ago, I would just go to any conference I could, and I'd just get the general admission ticket.
Well, you were learning, right?
Yeah. And then the wise man said, "Hey, listen, here's how you do it the best way. Save up your 12 conferences and just go to 4, right? At least 1 a quarter. But you're going to pay for the most expensive ticket."
Absolutely.
Because it's not about the conference. You're going to get your little tidbit. Cool.
It's about the people you're sitting next
to. Correct. He says, yeah, you're going to get your tidbit. You're going to get your piece.
It's about making connections like these, right?
But he says, getting in the back room, going to an event afterwards, having a conversation, and you're a one conversation away, man. One connection, one person away from potentially changing your life. And I said, okay. So I said, I'm going to start paying for the best ticket at all 4 conferences. And I do that every single time. I mean, it's hard to go whip out a $15,000, $20,000 ticket at an event. Now, PBDs is worth it because the people that are in that CEO realm, I mean, holy cow. I mean, PBD.
I mean, the relationships that I got out of it. I mean,
PBD attracts billionaires. Yeah. He's not even attracting millionaires.
Yeah.
So if you want to go hang around some billionaires, that's where you go. Yeah, and so you're in a room with 100 millionaires, not just little onesie twosies. So that's a lot. When did you make your first million? What age? And how do you remember? Do you remember it?
I'll tell you. So I do. I do. Well, here's the thing. By 24, I was a self-made millionaire, and I was and I had you know, I had made I wasn't cash flowing on commercial real estate $1 million, you know, and or,
Well, few
but I
people
had built
will until you get to a certain
right,
point.
right. But at that point I had multiple years. I was building, you know, $1 million a year in net worth on commercial real estate or more.
Yep.
Right. And so that was kind of like by accident. But
and that was through the family business a little bit, or for the
that was my first deal. I bought so I went in and I bought a car dealership. I started my first deal when I was 21, and I bought a car. That's
a real estate transaction.
It is. But I bought the piece of real estate. The deal I did with the guy, he came in and I just turned over. It was on the back of a napkin, and it was just like, he's like, I want $300,000 for this property, or $3,000 a month. And I was like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. He said, what's that? I said, I'm going to pay you $3,500 a month. And you're going to give me 39 months to pay $350,000 for it. If I buy it and execute within 39 months for $350,000, and you're going to give me the first 3 months for free, because I'm going to have to spend $100,000 renovating this place.
You need some runway.
I need some runway, right? So he gave me. He said, okay, and boom, they put a clover leaf in, and
so you got seller financing.
I got seller financing.
$3,500 a month.
No, I never heard it.
Rule 101, everybody.
Rule 101.
I mean, you're finding value, because you said he came to you at $300,000 and you gave him $350,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I pay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
But that's how it works. I mean, if you want seller financing, so everybody watching this, how the game works, if you want that, and Pace Morby teaches us too, you may have to pay more than quote unquote market value, but it's irrelevant to you, because you're able to come in with zero money down, if any. You're getting the runway to go operate, and then that you probably turn that thing into a 10x on the value.
Yeah, well, it was $2.25 million.
Yeah,
is what it ended up being. So, but
you bought it for $350,000 and it turned into $2.5 million.
2.2.
That's all right.
Yeah. And then what I did was right before when I contracted it, I bought the property like two couple properties down. And I bought that and I flipped it for $700,000 profit, like right at the same, because before it hit land records, because once that hit land records, it was just boom, boom, boom. And that time, I think land records mattered more. This is going
in terms of the value.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of getting the appraisal.
Yeah.
Right, getting the appraisal. Right, the appraisal could be justified. Mm-hmm. So once I knew the appraisal, because what happened was they had put in a clover leaf, and it basically just blew the property through the moon. Right, I had the right use on it. Right, I had the right entitlements, so I knew that I could do that. And keep in mind, like when you talk about seller financing, so there was no social media, there was no internet, there was nothing, right? If you look at seller financing in the most simplest forms in the world, if you can think it and it makes you money and they say yes, you got a deal. Yep. Because all I did was human nature, right? Like if this guy can get $50,000 more, mm-hmm. and I'm going to pay him $3,500 more a month. And then I also I had somebody get me on this recently, but I did my number one trait that I did when I was what's even now is I portrayed weakness to gain strength. So here I was 21 years old trying to get this
little
deal.
Humility.
Yeah, some humility. But the thing is he's like, this kid ain't never going to buy it anyways. I'll just take the $3,500 a month instead of the $3,000. He's never going to buy it.
He's never going to execute.
He's never going to execute. Why would, and he probably would be right, because most people won't.
Right.
Now today, there's so much information out there that they would call you, they'd call me, they'd call the guy down the street.
It out. Yeah.
They'd find a way to get it. But back in them days, like the information was held by the chosen few, mm-hmm. right? And you really, I mean, that's another reason why doing what I'm doing now is, I got punched in the face for 15 years just because there wasn't any information out there. And I was probably a bad student too, right? I was, young badass, just going, not listening enough, right? Not being coachable enough. And I had one in particular, I had a couple great mentors that helped me along the way. Like that's why I have a strong business acumen. Is I had a mentor that actually when I was 24, that's when I was the founding member of his mastermind, because I was the young hotshot. He used me.
So you were doing this at a younger age. Like the whole mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing masterminds for over 25 years. And the biggest thing that people don't understand about masterminds is this: the mastermind is not only who's in the room, but it's who's moderating it. Right. Because if the moderator can't come up with a good agenda, and if the moderator can't transfer value based off of who's in the room, then the mastermind is meaningless.
Correct.
That's why you see a bunch of these guys hanging out and, doing whatever things they may do. but they're not monetizing it. It's not going back. If you get into a good mastermind, what should be happening is you should look at the people in that room, and every year their net worth should be growing more as a result of being in that room together, right? And because that's how my mentor taught me, because I watched him make millionaire after millionaire after millionaire. And that's back when a millionaire meant something. Like, it don't mean anything today, right? Like, because everybody that has half a brain that does the work can become a millionaire, but it wasn't like that before, right? But the thing is I watched him do it. So I'm really grateful. And he was hard on me, and I was a bad student to him for many years, right? But I helped him because I was really good at what I did, and people wanted to know what I did. So they would pay to get into the room because they wanted to know what I was doing. Now, maybe they didn't like me when they got there, but you know.
What is your greatest weakness? And I know your wife's here.
No, my weakness before most of my life was, drinking and partying. I mean, that was, but now that's gone, right? So now it would be,
it's been 4 years, you said? 5 years. Okay.
Now,
so
and I had already,
pretty much your brother passed.
Yeah, about 3 years. It was before that. Like, I just couldn't do it. Even when he died, I remember they called, and I still had a bar in my house, and I looked at the bar, and it was basically like, and I hadn't thought about drinking in forever, never planned on drinking. It's done. And I was like, well, now's your chance. Right. And I just, and honestly and truly, what I told myself was, and this is what I always tell myself, and people think this is crazy, but anytime I get into a point in my life to where things are really, really hard and something really bad happens and I feel really bad, I say, Joey, handle some fucking adversity. And the reason why I say that, see, people think the wrong thing. And I would tell you that if you came in and you said something to me and you were like, Joey, and you started whining too much, I'd be like, handle some fucking adversity, dude. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I would say that is because I'm giving you a statement of strength. Instead of keeping you in that moment of weakness and sorrow, I summons myself to a powerful state right away. And I'm like, okay, I get out of tears and into action. Right. So,
you know what I tell myself whenever I'm facing like a tough moment? What would Tom Brady do?
What would Tom Brady do?
And anybody that's hearing that right now is like, oh God, Justin, please stop talking about Tom Brady. No, it's just when you, and I was telling all of our mentees yesterday on one of our calls that we have weekly, I said, the only thing keeping you from where you're at and where you want to go is 7 inches. And they're like, what's the 7 inches, man? I'm like, it's the 7 inches between your ears. I said, our mind is a scary place.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every day it's a scary place. You wake up, you could be in a bad mood. You tell yourself some crazy stuff why you don't want to do something. You're out of whack, your energy's wrong, and you go into a slump. I mean, you have to understand that your brain is by nature designed to do this. And then you have to have a power over it to kick it and or change your state of energy. And so people say, well, how do you get out of negative thoughts? I said, do you want to know how I get out of negative thoughts? I said, I have a playlist on my phone on Spotify. It is 4 songs. I guarantee if I listen to those songs, I cannot be sad.
You got to share it with me.
Okay, I cannot be sad.
You got to share it with me.
Because you can't smile or laugh or listen because music changes energy.
Absolutely.
You can't not do that and at least adjust yourself to go a different way. I said the other thing you can do if you want to change this, I learned this from Gary Brecka. Walk outside, bare feet, stand on soil or grass, stare up, even if there's no sun for the day. You just want to stare at the light where it's coming at you with your feet on bare soil and take 5 deep breaths. And what'll happen is you'll actually sense your body change state.
Let me tell you
something. Those 2 things alone, if you just did those, can help you change your negative energy. If you're having negative thoughts, negative energy, because it spirals, right? And if you want to change that state, music is a great one to do it. So I'd tell everybody, take 3 or 4 songs, put them on a playlist to where no matter what, I mean, it could be, don't worry, be happy, right? I don't give a shit what it is. Something to where no matter what, you will change you'll just tweak. And or outside, bare soil, stare up at the sunlight. Even if you don't have sun, stare at the sunlight. 5 deep breaths.
I love it. See that, and just to comment on the Tom Brady thing, right? So I'm big on these statements of strength, right? Because one of the things, this is my philosophy, is for a long time in my life, I had unresolved issues of things, trauma, whatever, going through all these things. And I would, like society, the media, social media, like they have this thing that has you look for healing, right? Like you have forgiveness, all these things you have to do in order to be healed. But what I learned is in life, for me, see, I wasted time looking to be healed when the reality is some things you don't look to other men for. Something for me, and this was a change for me. So there's a pain that got me to this point, right? And what I did is I realized that at some point in time, you just have to live with it. It doesn't go away. Like you make a bad decision, you weren't the best father at the time, or you did something that you're not proud of.
Yep.
It's not going away. Right. So to your point, what I did was I read, David Goggins' book, and oh no, I didn't read David Goggins' book. There was this guy that did Sully Powers. He did the Uber triathlon, and I had him. He was at a Vistage meeting, and he came in and he said when he was jogging through this thing, and they basically they hallucinate because it's days of working out. So you sleep for you sleep 10 minutes and you go because you start hallucinating in the process. And he said one of the things that he would do was he would say, what would David Goggins do when he was jogging, right? So what I did in these past couple years is I've went through this new level of growth and development and give back and everything within myself is now whenever I'm at my moment of weakness, I I have a vivid picture in my mind of who Joey Batista is, right? Like,
meaning the Joey Batista that
I want to become.
You're chasing?
Becoming. Yeah, that I'm becoming. Like to me,
because you remember the Matthew McConaughey speech, right? Where he talked about, the person I was, the person I am, but I'm the person I'm chasing.
I didn't.
Right?
I seen he speaks very well. He has a really good way of telling stories. He's a good story. He's a great storyteller. I seen some of his and they're phenomenal. But yeah, that was really it. It's like when I so now I'm just like, what would Joey Batista do? And what that does is, because when I look at that picture, like I look at myself sometimes and I look in the mirror and I'm like, why am I not where I want to be? And I visualize myself, picking up a hammer and a chisel and sculpting this guy that I want to be. Like, this is real visualization. This isn't podcast talk. This is like how I visualize it. And I'm chipping away and I'm not getting where I want to go. And I look at myself and I'm like, what's the answer? And I'm like, there's tears coming out of my eyes. I'm chiseling away at myself. And I'm like, there's no blood in them, right? There's no blood in those tears, right? So the thing is, it's like, there has to be a point to where you never, and that's like when you ask me what all this is about, is I'm that guy. This isn't like some made up thing. I didn't need to read anybody's book or watch any podcast or anything. God made me that way.
Yep.
And I wasted many years of my life not pursuing that guy. So part of me honoring God and part of my give back and part of who I need to be for my family and the example I need to be for my children is for me doing that, right? So that's where that comes from.
Would you, because this hits on this next question, which I already know the answer to based on what you just said. People make decisions in their life based on pain or pleasure. How do you make yours? Based on what you just told me, I already know.
Well, the thing is, what moves me to action is pain.
Yeah.
The pain that moves me to action is the pain of not becoming who I could be. It's not anything else. I can eat wherever I want to eat. I can not work if I don't want to work. I can do whatever I want to do, right? But the thing is it's like it's becoming more like I had a lot of setbacks and losses in my life, right? And like everybody does. Everybody, my story's my story. But the thing is I only did everything that I've done to do what I'm going to do. See, what I've done to me is meaningless in totality of what I want to do. Like if I only came this far, I would be an epic failure to myself.
And you told me you want to be one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to be. Yeah. I'm going to build one of the biggest brands in the world. It's going to happen.
So it's December 31st, 2025. What are 3 things that on December 31st, 2025, before it clicks over to the new year, that you've accomplished? 3 things that are measurable in your mind.
For $1, I want to be at $1 million a month in coaching.
Okay.
That's this year, because the reality is things don't take long if you're doing them right.
I would agree. That's my
Right.
vision too, is $1 million a month.
Right.
Right. And it's,
But you
yeah,
said
but keep going. And I'll tell you why. It's not the money, but keep going.
I mean, it's just, it's, that's what recognizes you as the first tier in the coaching space. Like, actually, that's where you gain the respect of everybody within the space. Once they know you've achieved that,
$1 million a month,
you're a different human in the space.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, how many guys are doing it? I mean,
there's very, very few.
Right. So the thing,
I mean, you probably have what?
There'll be a lot of them that make you think they are.
Right.
But how many are really doing
it? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would be willing to bet you it's less than 100.
Oh yeah. I mean,
$1 million a month.
Yeah. So
I'd be, out of all the ones out there, I'd say it's less than 100.
See, here's the thing. It's like, so if you were to start out and you were just starting out and you were getting into the coaching space, see, I already have all the business pieces together. Like, I understand sales, marketing, leadership, growing.
Now it's a branding thing.
Right. Now it's like, okay, I'm doing the front end skills now. So now what I'm doing is I'm building out that back space right now. So that's one of the goals. You know,
so $1 million a month. Number one. Two more.
$1 million a month. I want to build a mastermind to 50 people.
Okay.
That's my goal. I want to build a mastermind to 50 people this year. You know, I want to break through. I want to be a recognizable brand. That doesn't have to be 1 million followers. Like, obviously I'm gaining traction and all these things are happening, but the reality is for me, you know, I'm not the, you know, I don't want to sound arrogant. And I don't really necessarily want to say how fierce of a competitor I am neither, because
that's okay.
I'm more fierce.
Well, listen,
I'm more fierce than what people would think, right?
You wouldn't even have a fear for a second in telling people how competitive you are if you would have been at that conference the year before when it was Tom Brady. Because he's
Tom Brady.
But you understand how he became Tom Brady, because he always was third string. Did you know that? He was always third string from high school to college, to the pros, to every single team he's ever been on in his entire life. He started on that team at third string. And if you don't think that built a level of fuck you inside of him, holy crap balls. Because he's sitting there explaining it to everybody. He's like, PBD was like, Tom, you have this, all this stuff. Clearly, that's not your motivation, because you just keep going. And he's like, you're right. And he's like, what is it? He's like, honestly, Patrick, it was the fear of me going into the locker room at practice or before a game or on a game day and not being prepared for my teammates. That fear of me not being prepared and knowing I'm not prepared because I didn't do the work scared the shit out of me every single day. So when I didn't want to get out of bed and watch film, when I didn't want to get out of bed and do like plyometrics and all this other stuff I'm doing, eat right, I like literally visualized that fear, that moment of not being prepared and my teammates looking at me and being disappointed because I'm the leader, I'm the quarterback, and I'm not leveling up, and we're not winning. That scared the shit out of me every single day. So you want to know why I became such a fierce competitor? Because of that.
Well, I think what, you know, this isn't a new conversation. Like so they've recorded me saying this, and I say this to Andy whenever we're talking is, you know, I told you I wasn't good at sports at the beginning of this, right? So if we were playing dodgeball right now, was I picked first? No. Same thing if I went out. I told you I was 100 pounds overweight, right? So if I went out with my buddies, was I the first choice that a girl would want to go out with? Did the girls like me first? Did they like my buddies first, right? When I was starting out as a young entrepreneur, did they want to work for me first, or did they want to work for the guy with the bigger company, with the nicer buildings and the nicer benefits, right? So for me, in my life, I've always been the second choice. So I got a game with me that even after I'm the second choice, they're going to come back to me. That's how I run my game. You see how I build a relationship with you? Doesn't matter what happens, because I'm building the relationship on a real foundation that whatever happens in the universe, it'll be like, okay, the way I run the game, it always comes back to me. At the same point in time, I always have a reserve, because I always have been built to be the second choice. So for me, it's like, it doesn't even mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I can look at somebody and I can tell them something about themselves that they don't know. I can look at someone and tell them a business deal or an association that they're going to have with me that they don't even know yet. I can write it down and I know it's going to happen because, and it all comes from being the second choice, right? Because you have to learn.
Is that a chip?
No, I don't have a chip. I just,
Because clearly it's worked out for you. You've, made a lot of money and done very, very well professionally, personally.
It's made me a better person because I've had to become, everybody has their different bag of tricks, right? They have their different bag of tricks. So for me, my good with the human, I can give up a level of in connection that people just can't get from everybody because, and some of that I believe is God. Some of it I believe is, my mother, my father. Some of it I believe is, and I think a lot of it is a credit to having the second choice. And the thing is like, and this would be back to the third thing is to your point or to the obvious, like I've been a successful entrepreneur. I built it. I came up, brick and mortar, no social media, no internet.
Yep.
There wasn't a microwave, right? It wasn't the microwave generation. I had to grind it out. I had to fight for the knowledge. Everybody, they used to operate off, the mushroom theory.
No.
You ever heard that?
No.
They keep you in the dark and feed you shit, right? You know what I mean? That was the game of the old entrepreneur, right?
Keep you in the dark and feed you shit.
Right.
That's mushroom for sure.
Right? Well,
Holy
and
cow.
you came up, your dad was a successful developer, but unless you came up in the country clubs or stuff like that, right? You didn't get the information the same way, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of it's interesting you bring that up because people that knew me in youth and did watch my dad do what he did and then get caught in the financial crisis and lose it all. He was the transitional character in our family. My brother and I have kind of taken it and done well with it. Not to his level yet. But yeah, it is wild to see that because he was very much a driver director, and learned a lot from him, but also learned things to do and not to do, as we all do with our parents. But I know he's looking down on us and blessing every moment for when we can. I guess I don't want to say chase and get to his level. But because it's not about that for me. For me, it's a matter of giving back, leaving a legacy for my kids that they're proud of, that they can look up at their dad and say, "Hey, he was not only a good man, but did well for the family." Yeah, great man, and did well for the family. And what was really cool that I did not know if it was going to happen or not was you don't know how many people are going to show up to your funeral, right? You don't know. Until it happens, right? And
we still don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe you're up here looking down and
like
right?
when he passed, a lot of people started reaching out, but once again, we didn't know. We had a certain number of people that said they were coming, not coming. We overfilled the room, not even knowing, and people showing up that we didn't even know were going to show up. And it was crazy just to hear all the stories because we passed around a mic, point during the funeral ceremony. And just the stories that people had, I didn't even know as a son. But
that's
it's cool.
Beauty of it.
But it's cool because it just says, you know what? He had his positives and his negatives as any human does, but you can clearly see by the room, he made an impact. And that to me, if you want to know if your life was well lived, how many people show up to your funeral? Because if that room's pretty empty, then
that tells another story. And I think to your point, no, that's awesome. And I know, sorry for your loss. I know that was recent, right?
Yeah.
So they had, but for me, back, one of my biggest drivers is I don't believe that you can leave your kids or your family money and it actually do them a lot of good. I think that, of course you want to give them enough to have a leg up, to have a good life, right? But I think anything in ridiculousness doesn't really help, right?
No.
I think, but what I do think is I think the best thing you can do in your life is to be an example. Like that is a really big thing for me. Like I'm really like in leadership and business and everything. I'm the example. But that doesn't mean that I follow somebody else's book. I'm doing my playbook at this point in my life. If you teach me something, like if I want to learn something about multifamily, I'd come to you and you'd learn it. I would go ahead and I'd immediately just put it into my playbook. I wouldn't take your sole playbook and operate by it. I would do it, but I'm 100% open to learn, right? But at this point in time, like that's what is the example thing for me is really huge. And I have come to, and I think that's, I'm going to be 50 this year. So I think a lot of it is, people act like they feel like that. But if you asked me that 15 years ago, I wasn't that guy. Like I've come full circle in the fact that I'm still, antennas are up. I'm a learning machine, right? Like make no mistake about it. If somebody's doing better than me, I'm willing to burn what I know on fire like that. But the fundamentals for how I learn, grow, and operate, that playbook is well established, and I don't deviate from it because I'm not going to let happen to me anything like the financial crisis. I got wiped out. I got wiped out in 2007. I've lost, at a young age, I built like almost a $20 million net worth.
Wow.
And I had lost it all because I didn't know business. Right. Like I didn't know business. I didn't focus on learning how to count my money from And that was one of the things you asked me about the first $1 million. This is an interesting piece I'll add as we're wrapping up. But the way I did it in the early days, because I didn't know how to read financial profit and loss. I didn't have an accounting team. So what I would do is I hand wrote every check. So I controlled the money. So every invoice that came out, I had an accounting, I had an office girl, but everything came to me. Everything had to be, I had to know where every dollar went. Obviously that's not scalable.
Right.
But the way that I knew that I was making money was my bank account balance was going up every month. Right. So it was like,
well, you got money in and out.
That's how I would do it. So like when I got my first $1 million in cash, I was like, okay, you got a real business now. And then what I noticed after that, then it'd be like, okay, 150, 200,000 every month. It would start clicking up, clicking up. Cause I was living well below my means. Right. It wasn't until I went and got 5 cars and the 12,000 square foot estate home and the driver and the maid full time and everything like that, that I went in and ultimately took my hands totally off the steering wheel and ran into a brick wall. Cause I was a young kid that didn't know what the hell I was doing.
I love it. So for all you young children out there. So let's talk about the people you've been surrounding yourself with recently.
Okay.
Andy Elliott.
Yeah.
Very, very close mentor and coach to you.
Yeah.
Ty Lopez. You just had some conversations with him. Name some of the people I may not have seen yet.
Well, I mean, I think there's, you're making me draw a blank. I mean, I think Andy's obviously the closest one. I've worked with PBD, and I didn't work with PBD himself, but my big focus is, on my list, right? I have a plan that I'm executing, and I think that some people are specialists in their space, right? Like Ty Lopez.
What did you take away from him? Like maybe 2-3 things.
I mean, okay, 2-3 actionable things that I took away from Ty Lopez. Test concepts, right? The other thing that I took away from him is how he manages his social media, right? And what have you. Like he's always testing content. They're testing things a lot of different ways before he does it. I mean, I think he's probably, Andy has genius in his. Andy's is like a natural raw talent, like the way he does it. Ty's is more methodical. Andy's like just look at it and whip it together. Ty's like just pencils away, right? So the thing is like,
I feel like when I watch him, I feel like his brain's just thinking. And the methodicalness it comes out of, it's a good description.
And the other thing that I took away from Ty was, he was big talking about the outliers, right? And that was the big thing. Like, it was looking at, when you're testing these concepts and you're testing the content, you have to look at outliers that perform 3 to 4 times above market.
So what we do on YouTube now, because, through video IQ or vidIQ, whatever it is, it'll do it for you. And then you can put in your competitors that you want to maybe model, not exact, but ideas, and it'll show you their outliers. And then it'll give you concepts of, hey, you should recreate these videos in this way because the outliers were XYZ. On YouTube specifically. It'll do that for you. It's pretty slick. Yeah. So we've started to do that, which is helpful because we want to go more long form content. Short to long
forms where it's
at. Well, yeah, because I learn, and unless you have some massive brand, Ryan Pineda or a PBD or some huge brand that's been built already with a lot of social behind it, and you're growing through it, people will experience me in teaching them about multifamily, and they'll know immediately, like, oh, okay, this guy gets it. He knows it, and he's not full of shit. That's not the problem. It's just they haven't spent enough time with me yet. So therefore, the only way to do that is through some long form content.
Well, and I think that's really the thing is when you talk about impact and everything with the long inform. But there was a lot of stuff with Ty, and the other thing is it's the other thing with them is the paid ads, right? If you're going in there and you're working them and you're testing them, you should be able to go. And I knew this before that, but just the level that they do it at between your organic and everything like that. So right now my focus is I'm building out. I'm focusing on the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm building out everything that I'm working with Andy on. And then as I go in there, my plan is just to get, very intense with Ty mm-hmm. and to have him help get me the breakthrough in the brand. I think one of the things that,
both organically and then through paid.
Well, yeah. The thing is, and Ty, Ty talks about, you have to have a spear to push through. The reality is, I can say I'm going to have one of the biggest brands in the world, but, but there's a lot of people that say that. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a lot of people that say it the degree I do, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Like, how are you going to pierce through? Like, even when I go through, it's like you have to, and part of it for me going through there, like, believe me, there's things I could talk about right now today that would get me massive in uptick.
It'd be very viralish.
Like yeah. I believe somebody who talks the way that I talk, yeah. It's very easy to trigger people. It's very mm-hmm. easy.
Why don't you?
Yeah. I don't do it. Because I had been going through the process and I want to clearly, I said I wanted to be one of the largest brands and one of the greatest people there are. But the thing is that what cost is it to my family? Mm. How do I want it to be known? And at the law of timing, like I said, I'm a second choice. So I got layers to it. Mm. So like when I go in and there's layers to Joey Batista. So like when I go in and I'm at step 1 and people think I went all out, then I can do that. See, so for me, I'm making it harder on myself, right? I'm basically right now. I'm training with
So do you feel you're not going as fast as you know you could?
100%.
But why are you holding yourself back?
I'm holding myself back because
you could say something really fucking viralist right here on the podcast.
I could,
and I will snip at that thing and put a little reel for you. I'm just curious because I would agree with you. I think that if my gut tells me you could be very brash, very direct, and you could snip at that baby. And yeah, I think you would create polarization, which is what some of the, that's what Andy did.
That's the game.
And it clearly worked.
That's the game.
In his game. And everybody's different, right? Everybody's different. And timing has a lot to do with it too. That's why Ryan Pineda jumped up the way he did during COVID, is because nobody was really doing what he was doing, and the timing was just perfect. And it just lined up for him, which is how he was able to skyrocket during that window of time. So it's crazy how fast it can happen.
Well, it can. And the thing is when you start looking at the end vision of where do you want to go? Like when I said what I wanted to do when I was a kid, who knows what I'm going to want to do after the brand, right? So now I have to look at those things too. I'm like, okay, well, where's it going to go in? Like, so how far can I push it without compromising anything down the road, right? So the thing is, and at the same point in time, what example do I want to be for my family? How do I want this to impact my family? That's a big piece of it. And, is it going to get me? I'm not worried about, one thing I'm not worried about turning people off. I'm not worried about that one bit at all, because the reality is most of them are never turned on anyways. Sure. Right. So my thing is I want to make change, but to answer your question, it's really becoming comfortable with who I want that guy to be. Right. Because like I said, I still got the chisel in one hand. There's still not blood in the eye yet. Right.
Gotcha.
So the thing is once I'm crystal clear on it, once I'm crystal clear on how I want it. And the thing is you can't really be crystal clear, because you can't be crystal clear if you're going to get there. And I'll tell you why. Is one, you want to stay authentic, but two, you're going to have to make adjustments. The question is how much can you adjust without compromising your authenticity, right? And that's really what you're trying to calibrate, right? Like, how much do I have to still be authentic? I don't want to be some made up Cracker Jack box guy, right? How do you stay authentic to create real impact? But at the same point in time, how do you calibrate it in a way to where, you make the adjustments that are needed in order to win, right? Because in everything that you do, whether it's anything you do, like you have an idea of the way you think it's going to be.
Yep.
And then there's the other way that it really is once you start doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I first got into the space, and it wasn't to be the mentor or coach, it was to build a community of well-trained investors around the U.S. who were doing deals together. Granted, you need to be trained in order to do that because you know what the hell you're doing.
Well, you can raise money, right?
Right.
You were looking to access capital.
Correct.
Right.
And build a community of just people that were collaborating, finding, raising money, capital, putting deal structures, all that together. And they're
kind of a thought leader in your space.
Yeah, and they're well trained because we trained them. So therefore, they're out there doing their own deals, and by nature, they're going to want to go bigger. So then that 10 or 20 or 30 unit deal becomes a 60, 80, 100 unit deal. And then they want to partner because we helped them along the way. So now we're growing, they're growing, everybody's winning. Like that's the concept behind it.
Well, I mean, dude, I've seen your curriculum. I mean, your program is without a doubt phenomenal, right? The knowledge that you have, the amount of value that you have in there and doing it. I mean, it's dead on. Like if somebody really wants to get into multifamily and they really want to do it, right? And I think one of the biggest things listen, obviously there's nobody can say nothing about Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's Grant Cardone, right? When it comes to multifamily. But the reality is you're not going to get him on the phone unless you're cutting 7-figure checks and he's open to that at that time, right?
Right.
Because he may be in a season where he don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So one of the advantages, I'm not saying nothing, I think that's great, but one of the advantages of finding a guy like you, or even me at this point, right?
You're
in some
accessible.
spaces. Well, do you want to deal with the guy who actually put his own money in the game and did it? Or do you want to deal with his teammate that he coached how to do it?
Correct.
Right. And they're not going to be able to get access to the guy that actually has skin in the game.
Right.
Not at that level.
Right.
Right. It's just impossible.
Yeah, no, and we get that all the time. People will pay for XYZ and you're not getting the intimacy and the access. That's a big ticket for people, especially when you're going through something relatively complex.
Yeah, I mean that's why Well, yeah,
Very
multifamily
complex.
is very complex. It's the same thing in businesses when you're trying to grow and scale, right? Like people come in.
Did you ever have a hard time making payroll?
Sure.
What did that make you feel like? Because I feel like, and this is, I'm going to bring this up for a reason, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, people wanting to jump out on the limb and do it on their own and not work for the man anymore. And I think the thing that scares a lot of them, like anything, is the fear of failure, number one. The fear of being on the edge, which as a newer entrepreneur growing any type of business, you're on the edge a lot, right?
Sure.
You're riding
if you're
that.
going to build anything meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, you're riding it where maybe you're having to jack up your credit card debt for a window of time before you pay it back down. Maybe you have to get on. Maybe you have to get on that edge where you're teetering on falling off. You can't make payroll. So there was a great quote.
Maybe you're going to have to get behind on your payroll taxes in order so you can make payroll.
I don't know,
right?
maybe.
Right?
But there was one lady, you know what it was? It was Sanchez, the girl.
Cody Sanchez.
Cody Sanchez. She said, and this is for you, Cody. She said, if you're not getting kicked in the nuts at least once a week as an entrepreneur, then you are not an entrepreneur.
100%.
Because that is what it is. I mean, if you think you're just going to somehow glide through, maybe get lucky. Maybe you do. But every entrepreneur I know that's built anything significant has gotten kicked in the nuts, and they're still getting kicked in the nuts. And I'm super successful, and I'm still getting kicked in the nuts every week on something.
No,
so it's just you have to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
100%. I mean, yeah. And I think she said something about it the other day, like it's just you're wired for it, right? Like, and she's obviously a beast, right? And it's that there's no doubt that, and she has a very strong, especially, I'm gonna say for a woman, but like she has a very strong approach to her mentality and how to be an entrepreneur, and it's 100% correct, right? So it's impressive. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the payroll, all that in the early days, right? But the thing is that's, and I kind of this isn't a funny thing, I went to the total opposite extreme. Right. In terms of I lived really high, a really big life. And then I just lived really, really conservative and just hoarded cash and invested money because I never wanted to go through that again. To me, the essence of being an entrepreneur is not having to do that. Right. And that's like sometimes when people look at these things, like now when I look at a deal, like sometimes if I'm something really big, I'm like, well, wait a second, I'm already set up good. Like, could that compromise that?
Sure. Could it implode it?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Like to me, there's nothing more is not worth it to me.
It's a risk reward.
It's a risk reward.
Does it really make sense to take that on? What is the level of risk?
Sure.
My compromising my family's kind of baseline. to take
Yeah,
that
I mean,
on. Yeah.
But I mean, to your point though, yes, entrepreneurs, like, you know, it's supposed to be hard. Like people go in and people's like, oh, you know, I tried. You didn't even try.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like for me, I went in and, you know, I spent 6 months a year damn near vacation for the last 5 years, right? Living a great life, not drinking, exercising, getting sun, going places, eating good, just really living, feeling good. But something was missing, right? And that's another reason why I'm coming back into this. But the one of the things that I did is like, you know, right now I'm out here. I'm only out here to take my wife for a few days. I'm like, I told my wife last year and this year, like, she's like, I really want to go to Naples. And I'm like, listen, but the thing is, like, I'm like, no, I'm going to be 50 this year. I'm like, I don't even care. Like I want to work right now. Like I have a point to prove, like, yeah, I like those things too. But to me, like, you don't have to work all the time to be successful, but you're going to have to work all the time to get successful the first time.
Sure.
Right. And if you've never
you may have to go through sprints.
Yeah. You
right?
have to,
as you know, you're going to have to go through season or sprint.
Sure.
Where you're grinding.
Yeah. Like you could be coasting really good. Money's flush. COVID hits, favors you, don't favor you. Then all of a sudden interest rates favor you. They don't favor you. Right. You know, banks stop loaning money. That's a problem. Right. And all of a sudden, sometimes you got to go fight to keep what you got. Right. The best fight of your life is not going to be to fight to get more. The best fight of your life is going to be to fight to keep what you got.
Ooh,
right. You know
that's a zinger right there.
You know, it is.
That is a zinger because there's seasons in business where that is the case. And, you know, you can be in growth mode, which is great, but then you also have to go into protection mode to ensure that you can protect everybody's money, not just yours. If you have investors involved,
sure. Always
to fight what you got, so that way you'll have a chance to come back.
What I always say, for sure, you have to. What I always tell people is, like, with coaching and developing in business or anything like that, is I'm like, listen, you're going to fight your absolute best fight you ever fought your entire life. I want you to give it all. I want you to give everything you got. Right. I want you to fight until the very last minute, to where you're on the ground about to get stomped out. And I'm going to tell you the most important thing. That's when the fight starts. Right? That's when it starts.
You're crazy.
But am I wrong?
That's when the fight starts.
That's when the fight starts. Oh. That's when the fight starts. Because let me tell you something. What do you think the guy's face looks like that's already counted you out as done when you come up and you look him in the eyes and you take his soul from him? That's what's going to happen. You'll own him forever.
When you get back up.
When you get back up.
You're down and
you're down and out.
You're almost done.
Yeah, because anybody can get up one time. See, that's why for me it doesn't matter. I've been down and I get back up. See, this isn't about me, but the mentality that I'm trying to share, I'm trying to convey the mentality is it doesn't matter. I'm always going to get back up. As long as I have my health, like, it's the only way I know. I've built the beast to always get back up. You're not just going to punch me in my face and I'm going to go away. Yeah. Like, it's not going to happen.
No, that's a very, very good.
But to be an entrepreneur,
yeah,
right? To be a great entrepreneur, right? Like, and I'm talking about a great entrepreneur, like, to build a team, right? If you're going to go in and build a team, because most entrepreneurs, okay, 80% of all entrepreneurs really are not entrepreneurs. Okay, they're good at something. They're good at building houses. They're good at sales. They're good at marketing. You're not a good entrepreneur until you can build a team that can grow that business for you, period, right? To where you can deleverage yourself 100% from that business damn near, other than an advisory capacity. One of my mentors.
So until you get to that point, would you just consider yourself a solopreneur?
Yeah, you're just like you're a consultant or you're a solopreneur. I mean, and it's fun. Like, even me, I like coming back into the role I'm in. I enjoyed this role. Like, I enjoy.
And are you building the team now? You said
yes. So that's my big focus right now.
Are your brothers are a part of that?
Yeah, they are. They're kind of taking over more in the automotive space, but they're a part of it. Yes, absolutely. But I think that's the biggest thing, because I see it all the time. Like, think about this for a second, right? This is, and you're super savvy. You're super well organized.
But that's a good point that you're making there about, you can't do it alone.
No.
And you have to be a good leader.
Great leader.
To be able to motivate people in your team the right way with emotional discipline, that makes them want to see the vision and go with you, not feeling like they're forced. And that's hard.
The real
It's hard to find good people.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. The reality is the art that my mentor, my longest running mentor, he would say, I can inspire you. I can't motivate you. Motivation's on your own. And when you take that a step further, what I learned is if you don't find motivated people, they'll never become motivated. You can find people who are motivated and you can teach them skills and you can inspire them.
Yep.
And that's really, to your point, what you're going in there and saying. I mean, that's really what it is. But you know, when you go in and you see, like when I see these entrepreneurs, what it is like they get really good at, you know, HVAC and a sales team or whatever the case may be, just home services, whatever. You just pick the business, but they never take the time to develop their business acumen. Business acumen meaning, how do I bring down my cost of debt? How do I create operational efficiencies? How do I use technology to add value to my business? Like, how can I go ahead and help my team out through AI or technologies, right?
And you know Dan Martell?
Yeah.
Okay, because he was I saw a clip of him, and he says he was asked, he's on the School of Hard Knocks guy, you know, the guy that goes around and interviews everybody, and he'd asked him, hey, like, what's, you know, one thing that you could give to an entrepreneur that's young that would help them grow? And he says, you're not in the business of the business. You're in the business of growing people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're a leader of the business, your job is to grow people. Because if you can grow people and inspire people, then you can, like you said, deleverage yourself from the business at some point because you've developed great people. But if you can't develop good people, which is a leadership skill, then you're going to cycle through people all the time. You're going to have newbies and having to rehire and rework and redo it. And you're never going to gain that traction. And then you'll end up being a solopreneur, right? You have to learn the skill sets of how to build and develop people.
And that's where the brand comes in. Because if you come in and you have and back 100%, the brand comes in because in order to develop those people, you have to align in values, right? So if you align in whatever you believe, whatever you want, right? And unless they're a task worker, we need task workers as well, or single contributors. But if you're going to have leaders and leadership roles, you're going to have to go ahead and you're going to have to believe the same thing, because what's going to happen is you'll get 2 or 3 years in with them.
Yep.
And if you don't believe or fundamentally believe the same things, right, then it'll break. You'll get a fast win for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but then it will break. But that's what the brand does. Because as you go in and you see what X many long form content of mine, you're either like, who's this arrogant prick think he is? Or, you know what? I like that guy. I could do something big with that guy, right? I want to attract that one. And that's really what these are. The brand is a calling card for talent.
Sure.
So that you can use your leadership skills, right?
Yep.
If you align those pieces of the puzzle. So that's like, for me, we know that the most important thing in business is people.
Yep.
The question is how do I get more people? How do I attract them? How do I retain them? How do I develop them? How do I do all these things with people, but I get more of them with the brand? So that answers more your question, where my mindset is on the brand. I want the best people in the world. So it means I have to build a better business, better thing. And one of the biggest things I learned in leadership is this. This is where I started to change as a leader, right? Is when you come in and you're good at something and you never wanted something before, you know, it's nice, you know, to get the light on you, right? It feels good to get the attention, to get the praise, to get the recognition, right? But once you've been doing it for a while and you've got a lot of that, smart thing is you have to learn as a leader, how do I give that to people around me and use that as a tool?
Inspiring.
Like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, great guy, horrible human being. You know what? I talked to him and he is a great human being, right? And you don't do lights here, lights gone. Lights here, lights gone, right? Same thing as a leader. You know, you have to magnify to where you can go ahead and you have these accolades, you have these successes, you have these winnings come down. And instead of taking them yourself for the credit, right, you give them to the people who are going to continue to drive. And when they go to rise against you, DeSantis, you pull them back, right?
So we're going to finish.
Not to be political, but
we're going to finish with this question.
Go ahead.
It's next week from now. The phone's going to ring. You're going to pick it up. you get to go to dinner with this person and spend an evening with them. Who's that person that's on the other end of that phone that you get to spend and eat? You get one person.
I mean, obviously, in reality, it couldn't be somebody like my father who's dead, right?
Sure.
It has to be somebody that's living.
No.
Oh, it'd be my father. It'd
be your father.
It'd be my father, hands down. No question. Okay. No question. I mean, that would be 100% would be who it would be.
Why?
He's the best man I've ever known, right? Okay. You know, he's just, and he would be proud. See, it's a very good question. So, when I was back to, and we started talking about this, my mother and father, we talked about the bond. Obviously my mother and father did something right to have a bond, but my dad used to always tell me, because my dad was 59 and my mom was 19.
Holy.
Right. Okay. So there was no secret that my dad, I was born, my dad was, 60 years old.
Yeah.
So there was no secret that my dad was going to die before I was an old man, before I was fully grown, right?
This was known.
This was known, right? I didn't know it because I was a kid, but he knew it. Sure. Everybody but me knew it, right? But he used to always tell me, take care of your brothers. Like, no matter what, take care of your brothers, no matter what.
Interesting.
And
that's why you have the bonds you do.
Yeah. So it's
dude, this all makes sense now.
Yeah. He's like,
because I kept trying to, understand it, because you guys roll in a tribe, and I love that, by the way.
Thank you.
But I'm like, this is unusual and it's unique. There's got to be a reason behind this. Now it makes sense.
And I think that for me, I did what he asked. I did what he asked me to do. So for me, and that I feel that. And for me, I'm my father's son. So at the end of the day, obviously, look, I got a great wife. I got a great family, got great kids. All this stuff's great. But for me, my highest level of achievement of my entire life is I did what my father asked him to do. There's nothing that takes precedence over that.
And he'd be proud.
I know he'd be proud, but I did it.
Yeah.
I did it, right? Like, I did it. I honored my father, what he asked for me. And that's the big thing. So you can never have the relationship like what I have with my brothers if you don't honor your father, right? If you don't honor your father, that's why people find it unrelatable or don't understand, because maybe they have an honorless father. Maybe they do. So they'll be great at something else. They won't be great at that. They'll be great at something else, right? Like, even you had a good father. So the thing is you're not a good father, but it's really, my father was an honorable man, and he commanded that out of me. He cultivated that with so many it was a daily conversation every day of my life. It wasn't one time a year. It wasn't Christmas. It wasn't Thanksgiving. It wasn't a birthday. It was every single time anything happened, every single day, all the time. He used to always say, two biggest things my dad would say. He said a lot of things, but in this piece, and why I would pick him, and going back to that, but he would say that they're all, no matter what, always take care of your brothers, no matter what. And then he would always say, remember one thing, you always have one mother. So, I've been taking care of my mom for the last 20 years, financially. Me and my brothers do, but even before that. So it's like, and I'm happy to. I wouldn't want it any other way, right? But once again, so not only with my brothers, but with my mother,
Yeah, so you feel in a good way, a good weight.
Yeah, man. I mean, I did it. Like, people are like, to me, to be of substance and of character means something, because now that's like when I go in and people are like, yeah. But see, if you're not built of those things, you can't speak to someone who has.
Right.
They're just built of something you're not.
Yeah.
Like, you can act like you are, but you're just not built of that. If you can't honor that, and you don't have that level of devotion in you and love, it's love and devotion, right? Like, if you don't have that in you, then you'll never understand somebody who does, right?
I would agree with that.
And there's certain things, and the only reason why I know that is because, and I say this, like, there's other things that people have that I don't, right? It's like when I go in and I speak that strong and that powerful, and I say that this is the reason why. Like, if I go in and I talk about how to be successful, I sound arrogant because I'm talking about money. If I sound smart, I sound arrogant because I sound intelligent. But if I ripped my clothes off right now and had a Speedo on and I was rocking a six-pack, everybody would sit around and stare and be like, look at this genetic freak, right? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the thing is like, I say that because that's what I'm good at, right? You know, they sell their strengths when they have a six pack. I sell what I'm good at. Like if I came in and I had that connection with my father and we transferred that to my brothers and that's how our family lives life, then that's what we have. But there's many other things that other people have that they're great at that we just didn't have. Unique. So I don't discount anybody else. I'm just proud of the things and I'm grateful
that you have that.
That I have the things that I have. I'm grateful that I'm a second choice.
Yeah.
Right? I am. I'm grateful for it because now I'm building something other people are not as a result of it. So what I thought would hurt my feelings when I was a kid, right? What made me want to cry when I was a kid.
It's a driver for you now, isn't it?
It's a blessing. God gave it to me. God did it to me.
There
right?
you go.
You know?
Well, thank you for coming in. This was amazing. And yeah, this is incredible. We're still recording. I think everything's good.
We're good. Yeah. You're like, oh, damn, we didn't record it. Right? No, man, good, man.
Shit. Yeah, this was amazing. I love
man, good times,
you
man.
sharing it and getting a little deep and it's there's some good ones out there going to come out of this. So
good, man. Thanks for having me, man.
You bet. All right, everybody, take care. And if you want to reach Joey Batista, Instagram, you're everywhere.
You can reach, I'm on Joey Batista on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube.
We'll put his links in here on the long form. You can just click on that and go straight to all of his stuff. But appreciate you spending some time with us. And we're looking forward to it. December 31st, all those things you just said you're going to do.
He's going to hold this against me now. You hear me? Like now I'm like, this is accountability, right?
That's right. All right, buddy. Take care.
Take it easy.